What is good, Defenders Nation, and welcome to episode 363. And finally, we made it to the Club World Cup. My voice isn't back yet, but you know it either way. It's the Scarf, J.R. Liebert, live from Lawndale, and so excited not just to celebrate the biggest victory in club history with the millions
and millions,
but of course to have my partner in pod to do it with. I give you one Christian Philly Philemon.
Good morning, Los Angeles. Club America may have the nickname Millonetas, but that FIFA Club World Cup money bag is ours. Macaulay Culkin was at the game last night, so let me steal a page from a chapter in his book, the Home Alone one. We did it. We finally made it to the FIFA Club World Cup. This is amazing. The narrative about not winning the big games needs to go away right now. Biggest game in club history, and we won. Beating a team that has had one lousy-ass week, losing the Clausura final to Toluca, and taking little old us for granted, and walking out of L.A. with another L across the forehead to close out the month of May. May gray may be a thing in SoCal, but the sun is shining on us now. I know there are those that will say Jesus bailed Steve out. And of course, we've heard it because they've all said bailed Steve out. But it's clear to me, Scarf, that God is an LAFC fan. If Jesus scored in the 89th, amazing. Despite the fact that I'm sad that my Knicks lost, this easily puts me on cloud nine. This and a trip this weekend to Bananaheim. What a week. Whoa!
I have to say, I have never felt BMO Stadium the way it was last night. Yes, we played an MLS Cup final there, and we've played several big matches there. But by the looks of it, about 20 minutes before kickoff, La Monumental and everybody else in the South End and all of the yellow shirts that were there supporting Club America, you looked around and you thought, this is a mismatch in the stands. I have to tell you that by the time kickoff rolled around and by the time the second half rolled around, it was almost as if we began to take our stadium back. It was unbelievable. Now, of course, both sides would be going ham sandwich for the first 5 to 10 minutes of the match. You had the smoke and you had the fireworks coming from the 3252. You had the flares and you had everything coming from La Monumental. But after that, it was a slow and gradual takeover of BMO Stadium, where the black and gold, they kind of Muhammad Ali rope-a-doped them for a little bit. And then right before that final bell was going to sound, you had Igor Jesus say, no, we are not going quietly into the night. And then for the next 30 minutes, it was all 32-52, all black and gold nation in that stadium. And it was unbelievable the way it felt throughout that match.
Scarf, I think your internet connection is as raspy as your voice is right now because you stalled a little bit. But I love that it changed in that sense, because not only because we both went to see the Savannah Bananas this weekend, but looking around at the stadium, it was all yellow. But you'd have to wonder, shout out Coldplay, you'd have to wonder, though, if the way the volume changed itself, you obviously had everybody that's an LAFC supporter, including the incredible 3252, obviously cheering on the black and gold. And then you've got Club America fans. And then obviously you've got that crew of people that's in the middle. Those that grew up with America, claim it as their biggest team, their family team, but yet still love LAFC. You'd have to think that when Jesus scored that goal, that maybe just maybe some of those allegiances and love started being questioned a little bit, where people that were on the fence were like, well, I just want them to both have fun. I mean, at the end of the day, what's important is the fact that LAFC is going to the FIFA Club World Cup. And we said it on One More Sleep. We said that they needed to play an excellent game. An excellent game they did. Club America looked like they had some of those heavy hearts and heavy legs from that loss against Toluca in last week's Clausura final. But, oh, my God. I wonder what our good friends Slippy, Sujin, Ben are going to do when LAFC suits up to play against Chelsea. Oh, my God. It's actually going to happen this time.
Dude, the guy who sits right behind me, you know him very well. Dario is a diehard Flamengo fan. He was actually at the match yesterday in his Flamengo kit. So I know he's
Dario. What's wrong with you?
He's a Flamengo, but that's just it, right? We talked about it. That's his first love. That's his only love, if you ask him. But LAFC is the local club, and his son loves it, so he supports it. For me, for everybody out there who showed up in their Club America kit that will then rejoin all their friends in the 3252 or us in Founders or anywhere else in the 22,000, while I understand and I love you and I know you, there is only one crest that will ever be over our chest. So I appreciate that you went back and forth, because you know what? Sometimes the water's fine in the other pool, but hopefully you learned how to swim pretty well, because Club America forced you underwater on this one. This was unbelievable at this stadium. And Philly, a hell of a time to decide to win our first match of the season when conceding first. I mean, many things about this match, so many things about this night. It was unbelievable. We're going to talk all about it here on episode 363. It was amazing. And by the way, shout out to whoever does all the music at BMO Stadium, because about 15 minutes after the final whistle, after all the players were coming off, they definitely played Coldplay's Yellow as La Monumental walked out of the stadium. So incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It was yellow. That song stuck in my head because of this entire weekend. The LAFC game, banana ball, all that jazz. Oh, man. Like, this is, I hope everybody out there that's waking up this morning, and there's a good number of you in the chat, and some names that I actually haven't even seen in this chat. This is all awesome. Obviously up enough to where the partying didn't go till 5, 6 in the morning, or maybe some of you were just getting ready to go home because we're starting so early. I hate doing things early. But in this case, I was ready, refreshed. I'm on my second cup of coffee. Sadly, no Topo Chico, because apparently that stuff's made me somewhat of a fortune teller, in particular with the players. I mean, low-hanging fruit and the score lines that I picked. I'm going to start playing the lottery. But, man, it feels pretty darn good. It's not to throw salt and shade, and I know some people are like, rent-free, and give and regurgitate other comments that have been said 100 times with no thought process behind it. But to throw a little shade at the boys down the 110, how they were playing, they not like us during the El Tráfico match. You're right. You're not like us, because you celebrated your first win of the year, and we're going to the FIFA Club World Cup, despite the fact that the arguments will be that you got screwed over and Miami went in there instead. I don't care. The reality is we're playing Chelsea, and y'all barely won your first game.
Yeah, by the way, boo Real Salt Lake. Way to take the party to an end. That was 17th match of the season. Carson gets their first win. Look, you guys know how we normally do it. We have this day in LAFC history and news and notes, but we wanted to keep this particular episode centered completely on the Club World Cup, the victory over Club America, and what happens next. So we have no this day in LAFC history today, but we do have some news and notes we want to mention, obviously, regarding the Club World Cup. And the first of which is that as of today, an extra transfer window, which opens from today until June 10th, is now open to, by the way, all MLS clubs. Here's why. So that the clubs that make the Club World Cup do not get an unfair competitive advantage over the other teams in their particular associations. FIFA has opened this extra transfer window from June 1st to June 10th to all members of that association. Ergo, all members of MLS have this extra transfer window now open. It's from June 1st to June 10th. There'll be another smaller one later to replace any players who might be injured for this Club World Cup and towards the during the knockout stages rather than the round robin stages. So that's kind of fun, but it does mean any team in MLS. So maybe those crazy Inter Miami rumors with Luka Modric and Brian Rodriguez going to Inter Miami could be a thing. Seattle has already put out that they don't think they'll be using this extra transfer window to bring somebody in. And no idea what LAFC has cooking. We saw Neil McGuinness and John Thorrington at the stadium last night. I'm sure they've got some stuff going on. It is unbelievable that we have this opportunity now to bring in extra players.
You know, just to even kind of change the subject, I'm just still thinking about it, dwelling on it. And I got to give credit to my wife, Panda, because she kind of made a Wayne's World reference the other day, Scarf. You'd be proud of that. We got $9.55 million. We got $9.55 million. We got almost $10 million. Yeah, I'm still jazzed and jovial about this. And it's not even 10 a.m. And boy, I'm drinking enough coffee to make this glass nervous. Let's go.
Do we get that money? Is that for not for us?
No, it's not for us. But maybe that gives our team the ability to do some more important things. Luckily, I will tell you this, as rough as sometimes as it is when that monthly payment comes out for our LAFC tickets, when you sit, for those unaware, for those that sit in the premium sections at BMO Stadium, you got to sign a long-term contract to get those seats, whether it be Field or Founders. It's either 3 or 5 year deals. And the way that works is if you sign a 3-year deal, the tickets can't go up more than 5% per year. And it's the other way around. If you do the 5-year, they can't go up more than 3% per year. So no, we're not going to make $9.55 million, but at least you and I are somewhat capped on how much more we're going to have to pay for our season tickets with all these high profile games. And more importantly, these potential high profile scenarios and matches and things that we garner within this club. I can't believe it, man. I mean, I was looking at the schedule, June 16th at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Defenders, which one of y'all are going to Atlanta to watch LAFC take on Chelsea? Scarf, are you going to go try to hang out and steal a piece of Gigi Buffon's fabric in Nashville on June the 20th? Or are we going to head to the other world of the mouse, June 24th, to catch the game against Flamengo at Camping World Stadium? I don't know, man. But the fact that we even have this as an option, oh my God. LAFC versus Chelsea is a score that you'd see on your TV screen as a result of you playing FIFA or whatever the hell they call it nowadays. But this is actually going to happen. This is unreal. And what? And a big what if we actually come out of the group stages by beating teams like Chelsea and Flamengo. Oh my God, the possibilities are endless. One can dream. It's the hope that kills you. But one thing that's not killing you is the fact that we lost last night, because we didn't. We didn't. And it was all yellow.
I mean, you just mentioned it. Group D in the Club World Cup. 32 teams total in the Club World Cup, by the way. Obviously, LAFC is the 32nd team to qualify. 3 weeks ago, this wasn't even on LAFC's radar. Thanks to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, they ruled that Leon, because of the same owner, 2 teams rule, could not participate in the Club World Cup, as they are owned by the same owners that own, is it Pachuca, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. At Grupo Pachuca, I was saving this for the end, but keep going. I'll comment on it after.
Hop in a second. We didn't even have this on our radar 3 weeks ago, guys. Steve Cherundolo said it in the press conference. Coach Enrique Duran said it to me while we were in the hallway. Eddie Segura talked about it while we were chatting in the hallway for a little bit. 3 weeks ago, their mindset had nothing to do with the Club World Cup. Yes, they knew it was a possibility that somehow the ruling could go in our favor, and then you'd have to win the game, and then you get to think about the Club World Cup. But 3 weeks ago, this wasn't a possibility, and now here we are in Group D with Chelsea, who are in there because they won the 2021 Champions League, with Flamengo because they won the 2022 CONMEBOL Libertadores Cup, and ES Tunis based on their CAF ranking. That's who we now get to play in 3 matches. And they're not our next 3 matches, by the way. We still have matches to play before we go to the Club World Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if LAFC looks a little flat in our next match. We'll talk about that a little later. But Philly, you just mentioned it. We played Chelsea in a match that matters. We played Flamengo in a match that matters. We played ES Tunis in a match that matters. This is incredible.
It is. But what you're telling me is our preparation for America would have been different than our preparation against the Colorado Rapids?
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, dude, you said it. I wanted to save it for the end. You're right. Not only do we have LAFC to be thankful for getting be put in this situation, but yes, truth be told, we have to thank Leon as well. Look, and the irony of it, because that they beat us in the Champions League Cup back in June of 2023, but their expulsion opened the door from us. And as much as I resent that game, props to Leon, and more specifically, Grupo Pachuca, the owners of Pachuca and Leon. The diversification of team ownership benefited us more so than it benefited them. It's just how football and sports sometimes can be really cruel, but sometimes can be very freaking interesting.
We also have to thank Alajuelense, who brought up the complaint in the very first place.
Yes, exactly. I forgot about that too. Yeah.
And then they didn't even win the complaint, by the way. The Court of Arbitration for Sport ruled that however CONCACAF and FIFA decided to do it, then that would be okay. And that left Alajuelense on the backside looking in. I do want to bring up one last quick thing. Just Philly, let's run through the schedule one more time. June 16th versus Chelsea in Atlanta.
Yep.
That game will be played at noon Los Angeles time. Noon.
What day is June 16th?
That's a Monday.
Oh.
Friday, June 20th versus ES Tunis, Esperance Deportivo Tunis, will be played in Nashville at Geodis Park at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Los Angeles time. And then June 24th, which is what? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Thanks, CONCACAF. Flamengo in Orlando. FIFA in Orlando at 6 p.m. 6 p.m.
I'm so freaking close to Atlanta this upcoming week. Maybe I should just quit my job and go right from TST to Atlanta. That's going to be a much quicker and cheaper flight than going from LA to Atlanta. I mean, geez, the opportunity to watch LAFC.
Philly, will you do us a favor? You're in Burbank right now. You're not close to Atlanta. Will you tell the millions
and millions
why you're actually going to be close to Atlanta on June 16th?
I thought we've already beaten that to death, but all right. If you
Since
you insist, I'm Defenders. I'm taking a flight out tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. to head to Raleigh, North Carolina. Because if I die in Raleigh, at least I will die free. That's right. I'm hopping on my wagon wheel, and I am going to TST. Not as a spectator, not as a content creator, not as a team manager, or yes, an MASL ambassador, yes. But out of the 113 players at MASL that will be competing in the TST, they do happen to be bringing one broadcaster that has a very Herculean task of calling 19 games over the course of 3 days. Who that broadcaster is? Me. That's right. I get to call a Wrexham game. I'm calling a game for Club America, who has a team there. I'm calling 2 Atletico Madrid games. I'm calling an AFC Bournemouth game, and I'm calling a Newtown Pride game, which for many of y'all who don't know, they won the inaugural TST tournament. And all MASL players. And speaking of all MASL players, you Empire Strikers fans out there, follow Team West Ham at TST because it's pretty much all MASL players. Anton Ferdinand is going to be there as well. 2 other players. Zarate, and I forgot off the top of my head who the other one is. But West Ham's all MASL talent. 113 players, Scarf, in the TST tournament for MASL, and you're truly is going to work his tail off to get on the Pat McAfee show because I know the Arena Boys on Concava. Dude, I can't wait. Maybe I'll see if I can bump into Sergio Aguero. So many people. Chris Paul's a part owner of this tournament thing. I'm assuming he'll be there. Dude, yes, I'm pitching myself. Finally, I get to be a broadcaster at TST.
And look, there's some huge names playing in this. You got Miguel Layún, Luis Nani, Giuseppe Rossi of the Azzurri.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, Villarreal, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm calling a Villarreal game as well.
Yeah, the return of the atomic ant to the United States, Sebastian Giovinco, one of my favorite MLS players of all time, Marco Fabian. How about a team that has Danny Drinkwater, Bakary Sacco, and Tom Huddlestone? And, oh, by the way, we never mentioned the Oreo cream to our LAFC sandwich in the 2018 MLS Super Draft. Freedom United SC has the one, the only Tomas Hilliard Arce, who was in between Joao Moutinho and Tristan Blackman of the 2018
Dude,
NFL.
Get a load of this. For y'all that are watching, you'll see this. You see all this, Scarf? This is notes on like 285 players that I've been carving out over the course of the week. I've got stats and rosters and rules here. I got record books right here. I've got my main folder of notes for the rules and stuff right here. History. I've been a busy Philly as of late, but dude, nobody wants to hear about TST just yet.
Right.
They want to hear about how we took Club America and sent them back with an L across the forehead. Not a great week for the Águilas. They got clipped by the Harris Hawks. Why the Harris Hawks? So that's what Ali is. There we have it.
Oh, Falcon, no? I thought Bond was the Harris's Hawk.
Oh, darn it. Yes, it was. Yeah. Dang it.
Ollie's, I believe
in. And I'm sorry if I biffed that one. But either way, Águilas wings got clipped.
I believe Ollie is a peregrine falcon, but I have to double check on that. Look, one last thing real quick, too. The numbers on the back of the jerseys. Did anybody else notice? Olivier Giroux, you mentioned it in the chat. I took pictures. Our numbers were painted on much thicker in this match on the back of our jerseys. I kind of wonder why. Is that like a FIFA thing? Or is that I don't know what it was. But whatever the hell those numbers were painted on, our numbers need to be like that for the entire rest of the season. I don't know what was going on with those numbers on the back of the kit, but it was definitely noticeable. I liked it a little bit more because you could see it pretty clearly who the numbers were. Maybe it was a Max Bretos thing where he's like, look, guys, I'm calling the game. My eyesight's kind of going. Paint them on a little bit thicker if you need to. But I liked the numbers. It did look a little silly because the names on the back were still the same font. So it didn't quite go with the numbers, but it definitely looked different. Maybe it's a special. Oh, yeah, there we go. Brian says it in the chat. Maybe it's a special jersey they'll sell in the stores because we know LAFC has no shortage of ability to come up with things to sell in the stores. So either way, I thought that was kind of interesting. Philly, one of Liga MX's best clubs, if not of all time, definitely.
No, the best club in terms of trophies. If that's how we're determining success, no team has more trophies than Club America.
I hear you. And these last 3 years have been rough for Liga MX trying to take down Club America. Winners of the 2023 Apertura, the 2024 Clausura, and Apertura, becoming the first team to do the Tricampeones since they went to the short tournament format. The first team to place first in the standings and then win both a Clausura and an Apertura back-to-back. And then, of course, coming in with the chip on their shoulder, losing the 2025 Clausura to Toluca on aggregate, but still making 4 straight short tournament finals. Philly, a team that we were already relatively familiar with, not just from having played them in seasons past, but for having played them this season in a friendly 2-1, which, by the way, towards the end did not feel like a friendly. It felt competitive as all heck. This is the club of record, and I apologize to all of our other Liga MX fans out there who are having to hear me say this, but this is the club of record over the last several seasons in Liga MX.
Well, maybe, but in terms of record against us, Club America has not fared out very well against us in games that mattered. I mean, yeah, yesterday, the biggest of all of them. Prior to that, it was the semifinal of the Champions. I really miss the Champions League rather than Champions Cup. I still have to correct myself in my head as I'm saying it. But Club America, you want to talk about not being able to win a big game? They obviously haven't been able to win a big game against us. For better or for worse, for luck of the draw, for this, for that, whatever reason you want to throw out there, it doesn't matter. They're 0-2 against us in games that matter towards a international tournament. And it feels pretty darn good to say this. Yeah, we've had our struggles in the past with other teams. There's been the narrative that we don't win the big games. But as we said in the One More Sleep, this would probably be the biggest and best we've seen LAFC play in quite some time. I still don't think that they're going to be long for MLS Cup playoffs. But I don't know how much of that really, yes, it matters, of course. But to me, what matters is how the showing that we can give in this FIFA Club World Cup. I don't care about how we fare out for a midweek game against Sporting Kansas City or the Colorado Rapids for the time being. I don't. And I'm sorry, every game is competitive. But to me, giving a nice showing and obviously letting the world know who this little club is out of Los Angeles means more to me than the Colorado Rapids and Real Salt Lake. We could worry about all that stuff come July or August, but August now we got freaking Leagues Cup. But for the time being, it feels pretty darn good, man, to be in the company that we're in. And even ES Tunis, some people, plenty of people who would have no idea what that team's all about, but it's another club with decades, almost 100 years worth of history that play in a stadium of 35,000 and have legends like Gigi Buffon running it. And for us, that is the least known team out of all the ones that we're playing. Flamenco, a big club. Chelsea, a global behemoth. And in that company, LAFC. My, how far we've come since this club's inception. And we've had our fair share of negativities in the past, but our ambitions are high. From the top down to the bottom, and it's because we want to participate in scenarios like this. I'm so proud. I've always been proud to be an LAFC fan. You, I don't think, have any other clothes other than LAFC clothes. I don't recall the last time I've seen you in non-LAFC gear, but man, if there's ever a time for us to feel proud and happy supporting a club, now is truly the time. Where the saying goes, and I'm going off on a monologue here, you can't get the sunshine without the rain, and we've had some rain, but not as torrential as it is pouring down the 110.
No, man, look, this season quickly became something to remember, right? We talk an awful lot about, and Steve Cherundolo brought this up in the press conference, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later. But Steve Cherundolo said, look, we've found ourselves in 6, 7, or 8 finals or final matches to get to another tournament. And he said, kind of tongue-in-cheekly, we've had some wins, we've had some losses, but I only get to hear about the losses and never about the wins or never about the important moments. We're going to talk at the end about the press conference, you guys, and about what I felt Steve Cherundolo was really saying in that press conference. It was an incredible few questions that he answered in the press conference. It really shaped the way I thought he was approaching this Club World Cup, which is pretty cool. Look, Club America comes in with all the payroll, all the talent, all of the advantages that you could possibly want, playing in a league that doesn't operate with a salary cap. You got five double-digit scorers, and you got a guy named Victor Davila coming off the bench, or in this case, starting, who only scored 8 goals, but is just as dangerous as anybody else in CONCACAF. Your player to watch, Philly, Alvaro Fidalgo, an incredible player with 10 goals and 9 assists on the season. And he's one of just 4 players with at least 10 goals and 9 assists on the season. Of course, Brian Rodriguez, Henry Martin, who was injured for this and did not play, and Alex Zendejas, a member of the U.S. men's national team, an incredible winger. Their center back pairing, which they actually didn't use together until late, Ramon Juarez and Israel Reyes, both called in to the Mexican national team and both 25 or younger. And yes, they still have Jonah Dos Santos and all of the other star power, maybe the best keeper in CONCACAF right now, in Luis Malagon, who had 19 clean sheets this season in 46 total matches. The dude is great, and he was very, very good in goal for them again. And oh, by the way, just because I mentioned it on One More Sleep, I'll mention it again. He wasn't, I don't even think, in the building, but they do have a player number 188 named Cristo Vela, who is Carlos Vela's nephew, 20 years old, and had 4 goals for the U23s this year in Club America, but did play 77 minutes for the big club. So they even have a Carlos Vela connection, Philly. But you know what they didn't have last night was a connection on the pitch. Ooh, see what I did there?
Oh, that's throwing some shade. No, you're right, man. I mean, the amount of just how good Malagon is as a keeper and just how good the defensive Club America has been. I mean, over the course of 17 games, they only allowed 10 goals. That's really stinking impressive, while scoring 34. Even the team that finished above them, I mean, you're talking about a huge differential. Toluca allowed 22 goals, and yet they finished above Club America in the Clausura standings towards the end. But it's, yes, an impressive team. I mean, we didn't do as deep of a dive as we would normally do against the Liga MX club, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that we played them a few times, and obviously we did somewhat of a dive for that preseason, for that friendly match that happened at BMO earlier on. But yeah, man, we won, dude. I just can't. I'm at a loss for words, believe it or not. I can't believe we're in the situation that we're in, and not because of anything other than, well, Alajuelense and Grupo Pachuca. Otherwise, we're talking about the Colorado Rapids right now, which to me, no disrespect to the faithful at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, it's just not that compelling of a story as it is to beat Club America to go into the FIFA Club World Cup. It's just not. The questions come in like, do we focus on MLS Cup or this? The answer is both, but right now, this is the emphasis. All systems go. Nothing else matters.
Yeah, no, look, we put all our eggs in this basket. Let's get into the lineup so that we can talk about this match. We are 33 minutes into this episode, and we so appreciate every single one of you tuning in, watching on YouTube. I just had a glitch for a minute there. Sorry.
Whether you're emotional.
Whether you're accessing us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, however it is, or of course on all your podcast platforms, we so thank you for doing that. Club America coming out in a 4-2-3-1 led by head coach Andre Jardine. Their keeper, we just mentioned him, Luis Malagon, is very, 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 very good. Their back line, Israel Reyes, Sebastian Cáceres, Kevin Alvarez, and Christian Borja. In the midfield, Eric Sanchez and Alan Cervantes. And at the forward spots, the U.S. men's national team, Alex Zendejas, Phillies pick to click, Alvaro Fidalgo, Victor Davila, and Rodrigo Aguirre. We would actually see 7 substitutions in this match, 1 because of a concussion substitution. So that allowed every team to get a 6th, and then in extra time, you get a 7th. So we would see 7 substitutions for Club America. The first 2 of which were easily the biggest names that we would see off the bench. Jonah Dos Santos and Brian, yes, that very same Brian Rodriguez, who, I mean, he took every single free kick after he came into the match and came close on 1 or 2 occasions. Also off the bench, Ramon Juarez, Miguel Vasquez, Christian Calderon, Diego Valdez, and Javier Dilrosun. I just thought it showed how deep and how talented Club America is. And that's why it was so important that the team that Philly's about to mention, our starting 11, played their butts off last night.
It's sometimes I still have to scratch my head because I forget that Jonah Dos Santos is still freaking playing. He's he's older than his brother Gio, and yet I don't remember. I don't remember the last time we saw Gio Dos Santos. Kind of hoping we would see them in the MASL, but that hasn't happened. As far as LAFC starters are concerned, look, not too much of a surprise as far as who got the start. We came out with a 4-3-3. With Hugo Lloris in between the sticks, Sergi Palencia, Aaron Long, and in the chat, people are going, we owe Eddie Segura an apology. I have somebody else who I owe an apology to in just a second. I'll mention his name. He comes off the bench. Ryan Hollingshead makes up your back line. The midfield, Timothy Tillman, Igor Jesus, and Marky Delgado, who, by the way, tweeted that was never a penalty at all. We'll talk more about that later. Up top, Nathan Ordaz, Jeremy Abobasi in the center position, and Denis the Destroyer. Forget his last name. He's forever now known as Denny to the Destroyer, my all-time favorite player in LAFC history. Not even close, and it was the case even before this game. Coming off the bench, David Martinez, Cengiz Under, who would unfortunately have to sub off. Hopefully he's okay. Frankie Amaya, Marlon in the 106th minute, and the person that I'm going to owe an apology to because, look, we'll talk about this. The game completely changed when he came into the game. Olivier Giroud. Olivier, I know you're in the chat, buddy. My apologies for pooping on you all this season. The perfect revenge is obviously success. How many of us were harping on Gareth Bale being insignificant to LAFC until he scored the goal in the MLS Cup final against the Union? Then all was forgotten, other than that amazing goal, by the way, he scored against RSL. The best revenge is success, and success we had, and it wouldn't be without players like Olivier. And Brian in the chat goes, I apologize to Bonga. I always talk smack about him. Look, he scored his 80th goal in all competitions the other day. I don't even know why anybody would talk smack about a guy like him because 80 goals in the short period of time that he's been with us, pretty darn impressive. Denny the Destroyer destroys America. And as awful as that sounds, I should probably throw Klub in there.
Listen, it was a nervy, tight first half, I think, on both sides. Our back line played extremely well for the most part. I think there was only one little bit of emergency defending on the back line in the first half. LAFC getting the lion's share of shots off in the first half and for the match, by the way. And I know, Philly, you'll go through that at some point here on the podcast. But look, it was a 0-0 first half, and it's interesting. Dario, who does sit behind me, he was like, I hate to say it, but this seems like the perfect match for an Olivier Giroud to come in and kind of hold up play in the middle and unlock things, being that center forward that we needed. It definitely seemed like there needed to be some change for LAFC to unlock something more dangerous offensively, because I don't know that either side looked particularly dangerous other than a couple of moments, rather than some good play that you could replicate over and over and over again. Obviously, we would see Club America make the first changes at halftime, as I mentioned, with Jonah Dos Santos and Brian Rodriguez coming on. But Philly, that first half that LAFC played to keep it 0-0, but not just that, to keep Club America as stunted offensively as they did, I thought was one of the best halves we played all season, even though it was 0-0.
Yeah, look, we think we played a solid half, and I mean, if you go through the statistics, not only was it the first half, but I mean, we were very effective. But I want to just bring up that moment within the 22nd minute where Nathan Ordaz came ever so close to beating Luis Malagon. Do we think he's offside in that scenario? Should he have made it? And did Aaron Long actually get tugged and hit the deck that should have resulted in a penal? What do we think about that?
Yeah, look, the one thing that they don't do in any of the FIFA games that are at BMO Stadium is show any replays. They didn't show a single replay pretty much all night. So we would have had to have gone back and looked at it. Look, I think that what I appreciate that referee did in that match is that he let the players decide what was going to happen. Even after he overturned the VAR call, it was the referee on the pitch who was adamant, saying, no, get up. He wasn't going to call the PK. It was only after he was made to go to VAR that he called the PK. So I really do appreciate, and I didn't bother to look up his name.
Wilton Sampaio.
There you go. Thank you.
Wilton Sampaio out of Brazil.
Wilton, come referee all our games, because I would much rather have a referee allow the players to decide it in the way that they played on the pitch than those referees that we see time and time again that feel they need to call every single thing that happens. And yes, we had more yellow cards as a club, but you know what? I don't think you can go back and argue any one of the yellows being soft that we got. There were a couple of tactical fouls. I thought that maybe America could have got an extra yellow or two, but it would not have changed the complexion of the match. What I thought was most important is that he let us play until VAR told him he had to go look at it. I absolutely loved the refereeing in this match across the board.
So you're telling me for bigger high stakes games with more money on the line and obviously probably better played officials that somehow the officiating would be better than what it normally is? And the answer is yes.
One would hope.
Yeah, obviously there are plenty of people that would argue otherwise, but true. Compared to what we've seen consistently throughout Major League Soccer, I stand by it. Pro is just an acronym for pretty rancid officiating. And I think Wilton Sampaio, yesterday's official, proved just that. That's the way you'd want to see a match get officiated. I'm probably thinking, maybe not if you're on a certain side of the fence. But I would agree that the officiating wasn't anything that should have been that puts a damper on the match. I like it when both teams are allowed to play. When they went to VAR, it was look, there was not whether Delgado thinks it or not. I mean, they went to it. They didn't want to call it. And the fact that they changed the calling on it goes to show you what that is. I'm sorry. My thought process is changing because all of a sudden I see a Diego Rossi image pop up on the screen that says, Philly, can I ask a question? Okay, sure.
Sorry, I got a little ADD there for you. I just wanted you to see this in the chat. But yeah, no.
Well,
look,
you can't have two people with the ADD conversing with one another, giving their thoughts, and throwing squirrels and acorns at one another because we'll go off on another tangent.
Yes, I can. That's the fun of it. Absolutely. No, but look, you're absolutely right. The officiating was great. I thought that it was very fair on both sides. And look, if the side that doesn't think it was fair was the side that was awarded the PK and that's how they scored, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to tell you after that.
That's what I have to tell you.
Here's Diego Rossi's question for you, Philly. Would you take me back for the FIFA Club World Cup?
I mean, considering how you've been playing since you came back from Turkey, Diego Rossi, absolutely. How would you not want to bring back the man who scored the first goal against the Sounders? I love Diego Rossi. He looks better in LAFC uniform than a Columbus Crew one anyway.
Yeah, for sure. The one other thing, Dakug brings it up. Normally, there's the clock that's dead center on that electric ribbon board. There was no running clock on the electric ribbon at all last night, only on the two large jumbotrons, which, by the way, when they took down that graphic, you no longer had any idea how much time was left in the match. That was the dumbest thing ever, but it's again, a FIFA call. So look, we've talked about it, Philly, a little bit. I think, to me, we can zoom right to that 64th minute where Eric Sanchez was fouled in the box by Mark Delgado. They thought it was soft. They went to PKs on it, and I thought, damn it, this is the thing that prevents LAFC from making it to the Club World Cup again. It's shenanigans by Ochoa in goal. It's a soft PK call in this match on Mark Delgado. Like, when are these little things going to stop becoming a huge thing in a match like this? And now, of all flippin' people, you're telling me it's Brian Rodriguez who is going to step up for the PK? Philly, this was Club America's only lifeline in the match. We looked great throughout the run of play, on set pieces, It didn't appear that Club America was getting better as the match went on. They were actually getting worse. But man, it was just like, damn it. One of these moments again is going to doom LAFC in a huge, huge match.
Yeah, look, of course, there was trouble brewing. Marky Delgado seeing yellow in the stands, on the pitch, and with his name on a card. Of course, it had to be your favorite player. The only one that you continued to drive the bus for, Raito himself, 11 meters away from the ultimate gut punch to his former club. He scores, obviously, as we know, but a muted celebration, as Max did say on the broadcast. I'll acknowledge that. Not a smile or an overzealous celebration. And despite how much I hated that goal and the fact that he scored it, I don't cast him as the villain in that case. I give it to their head coach, the 45-year-old, by the way, which is, to me, is still impressive because that's almost my age. Andre Jardine, Club America's coach, put Brian in that situation. Maybe because Brian would have been the best option to score, or maybe because he wanted to throw some shade and light some fires. Well, light some fires he did, but the tires that were kicked were yours. Carry on.
Yeah, look, I want to be real honest. I loved Jardine for allowing Brian Rodriguez to take every single corner kick and set piece and everything else. A PK is a PK. You're going to bury a PK more times.
You're telling me he was the best option, though, on Club America's roster to take it?
This is what I'm saying. I wanted to ask Jardini this in the press conference. They just didn't see my hand and didn't call on me. It was very frustrating. But I wanted to ask him, was it your setup to have the former LAFC player take as many free kicks and other options that you had the whole time? Or was this Brian Rodriguez out on the pitch telling the rest of his boys, no, I've got this one. I used to play here. I want to be the dagger. And I'll say this, the two Club America fans that were behind me, as soon as Brian stepped up to do pretty much anything else after the PK, it's a family-friendly show, so even in Spanish, I can't repeat any of the things that they were saying behind me.
You can.
But it's safe to say that those guys were as displeased with Brian Rodriguez. Again, Henry Martin being hurt really hurt this club. Henry Martin being hurt really hurt this club.
He's been hurt, though. We knew that.
Yeah, but you're
going back to the friendly.
Sure. But your pick to click, Fidalgo, I don't believe, he was still on the pitch at the time, so unclear as to why it wouldn't have been somebody else. And now, as Beto mentions in the chat, in that transfer window, it's rumored that maybe Brian Rodriguez, along with Luka Modric, is going to enter Miami, which would be really interesting. Miami,
they call us FC Hollywood.
Yeah, you can have him if you want him. Look, right after that, Philly, we finally make what would be our first change of the night with David Martinez coming on for Nathan Ordaz. I thought Nate played really well in this match, but I think we know Nate goes just about as hard as he possibly can. And I don't know that he can sustain that for a full 90 minutes yet. I'm sure Nate will tell you he would love the opportunity to try. But that being said, we had to go with what we thought would be the better option with David Martinez coming on. I will say one thing about David Martinez coming on in the 68th minute, and then eventually, by the way, coming off in the 120th minute. I didn't know he was on the pitch. Had no idea.
You're David Martinez did not have a good game. His body language indicated that he did not have a good game. He's a talented player with so much upside, but his problem is when he gets into a rut, it's a snowball effect. That's something that he's going to have to learn, and with time, hopefully not too much time, that's when he can improve upon it, because if he's playing well, you can't stop the kid. But one bad thing happens, then another, then his body language affects it. And while he's trying so hard to play the game that he knows how to play, what he's doing is incredibly destructive for the actual game and the actual team itself. So that's where the maturity factor is going to come in. That's something that Steve and whoever else is going to take over the helm of LAFC is going to need to work on. The kid's talent is there. They just have to figure out how to calm the mind, whether it be with a sports psychologist or whatever the case may be. I mean, he can't legally drink a anything in Los Angeles. So we can't harp on him too much, but it's that snowball effect that needs to improve upon if this kid's going to look to move to the next level and be the player that we all know he can be.
Yeah, Philly, 2 coaches and 4 players were patting him on the back, tapping him on the head, pulling him in for a hug. You could tell that LAFC also gets it. They're being super gentle, kid gloves, bubble wrap with this kid because you can tell that he sometimes just goes down that rabbit hole and cannot pull himself out. So when they brought him off in the 120th minute, which, by the way, was pretty much just a time-wasting sub.
Yeah.
We'll talk about who subbed in that one, by the way, which is a little surprising. When they brought him off, his body language sucked, and it didn't need to in that moment. That's the frustrating thing. When we're up 2-1, when we're celebrating in the stands, when you know this is your time-wasting sub, and that's why you're coming out. He was every bit of a 20-year-old in that case, rather than the mature professional athlete that we would want him to be, simply because he's not there yet. I mean, he said, right, was it his first time in the United States from Venezuela? This kid he was a teenager when he came over. He's being raised by a group of other grown men, professional athletes who are doing the best they can to try and help him. But it's one of those things that what we all need to realize is that this kid is still super young and very new to playing this style of football in this country under these circumstances. But it was definitely a bummer to see not just his effort on the pitch, but him coming off. I'll give him a pass, though, because what he's going to hear about today are, look, we need you up for that next game. We need you to fake it till you make it. We need you to buy in completely. And I think he will. I think Brian will come back with a much better performance next time.
I agree. And some really good points in the chat, which I want to highlight. Aaron G-Dub Goodwin says, I think with Ordaz, he has that mentality down, but he doesn't have the full tank of gas yet. Opposite from Martinez, mentality being the issue. And then Brian DJ Bullet in the chat goes, Martinez is missing his family. He's all by himself. You alluded to it. Add the young factor, all mental. Ordaz is from here. He's got that support system in there that's outside of the club. So these are all very good points. The fact of the matter is that athletes these days are different than the athletes of the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. The rub some dirt on it and go mentality is no longer the case. The coaches that were successful back in the day, your Bobby Knights, your people like that, those people don't fly in today's day and age. A Bob Bradley right now starting would not work. Bob Bradley would only be coaching in this time period because of his accolades. But you take that kind of a character and mentality and bring it onto the athletes of today, it's just not going to happen. So these are all very, very good points. And yes, they need to make sure that David Martinez can move on. The fake it till you make it thing, that's actually true. If you can harness that in for that moment, tunnel vision, it's easier said than done, of course, but there's big things on the horizon for David Martinez. This is just, I'd rather have somebody in his situation that has the skills and just needs to kind of fix things rather than the exact opposite. Or maybe not. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. But either way, like, not really harping on him too much. But these are good points I wanted to bring up.
The question is, right, would you take Ordaz or Martinez? That's the question.
I guess it depends on where we are and the course of the game. That's not an easy question to answer. If I want somebody that's going to go in there and has the guts, I'm putting in Ordaz. If I need somebody to go out there and create a sizzle and maybe energize the crowd, I would go Martinez. But for me, Ordaz has the stronger mentality. He's the one that's either can score. But I would go game on the line. I would go with Ordaz just because he has more of a killer instinct.
Yeah, no, look, I agree. Look, 74th minute, it was a total tactical shift for LAFC as well, bringing on Olivier Giroud and Cengiz Ünder, hoping that Cengiz Ünder, by the way, is okay because he came off injured later in the match. But Jeremy Abobasi and Mark Delgado come off, which means LAFC now switching to a diamond up top with Olivier Giroud at the tip of the diamond. You got Denis Bouanga and David Martinez, or excuse me, Denis Bouanga and David Martinez on the sides, and you got Cengiz Under dropping back a little bit to kind of operate like another midfielder. It was an incredibly smart tactical switch. You really saw Olivier Giroud flourish in this kind of a system against Club America. I thought this was his best match of the season in terms of how well he impacted the Club America defense. They had to account for him. They had to understand that his hold-up play was what he was there for. He was much more aggressive and on point when not on the ball, which I thought was great. There were still moments where he looked his age and didn't really play that well. But I got to say, these minutes that we saw, what wound up being, 56 minutes or so, 46 minutes or so, including the extra time, I thought that Olivier Giroud's shift was incredible.
Yeah. Look, it's not too hard to say that he had the best game of his LAFC existence because this is the most visible game. I don't really think of the games that he scored in the League's Cup or anything else. We needed him. And you just saw, look, the guy's a physical specimen to begin with. And just having that size and that sheer brutality up top made it hugely impactful. And it was said in the chat, again, shout out to G-Dub, Aaron Goodwin. He just played with a different mentality. He was out there just looking to be hungry, looking to be aggressive. It wasn't like the shrug if something didn't go his way. His mentality completely turned up a different notch. Big time moments, big time players come up, and I'd rather in this case see Olivier Giroud be hungry and play the way he did against Club America than for him to have a hat trick against the Colorado Rapids. And yes, I am picking on them more so because that's the game that we should have had yesterday, and I'm so glad we didn't have it. Nothing says boring to me quite like playing the Colorado Rapids. I used to say the same thing about Vancouver, but now Vancouver is a contender. Vancouver's a good team, but you want to see hungry mentality. Everybody came up to play, and I just kind of hope that's the case from here on out.
Look, I would start picking on Real Salt Lake more, especially after yesterday.
Yeah, they didn't do us any favors. That's true. But have they ever done us any favors? They're salty and sandy. They're always salty and sandy.
Look, just when we may have started to lose hope, although with 7 minutes on the clock of stoppage time, I think that there was still plenty of reason to hope. It was a Denis Bouanga corner into a very dangerous spot. And again, you have players the likes of Ryan Hollingshead, and you have players the likes of Olivier Giroud, who clubs know they need to account for in the box on set pieces like this. I thought LAFC looked as confident on set pieces as they have maybe since the season we won MLS Cup 2022. I thought that our set piece conversion rate in terms of making them dangerous was excellent. And Philly, none more so than right near the death. Hell of a time to score your first goal, kid. Igor Jesus getting on the other end of one in a ton of traffic. I love how Igor Jesus fights for every little thing. If it is a ball in the middle of the pitch against his defender, or it's a header in the box, that kid, he's got a little bit of a badonkadonk on him for sure. And watching Igor Jesus get in the middle of the kid is 20 years old, and we have asked him to be the 6 on a club that, if you didn't think we were aspirational before, we're playing against Chelsea in the Club World Cup in a week and a half, y'all. You have to be kidding me. Igor Jesus is miles ahead of where I thought he would be, and he was so incredibly important on this goal. Igor Jesus saves.
So what you're saying is Igor got back. A little in the middle, but he got much back. A little in the, oh, that's good. A little in the middle, and he's got much back. That actually fits quite well, and that was a pure accident. But as I said at the top of this podcast, for those just joining in, and the numbers keep coming up, so thank you so much. The football gods blessed us Clearly, God is a fan of LAFC because Christ is risen. Indeed, he is. And Igor Jesus has rose as well because his first goal couldn't have come at a bigger or more important moment. Holy Tuscaloosa, the equalizer. And let's just speak for a moment about the atmosphere in the building when that goal was scored. There was an awful lot of yellow, as we know, to shout out Coldplay. But how loud was black and gold over yellow after the equalizer?
I mean, here's what I will say.
Everybody's coming in the chat.
I thought that the energy in the building had already started to shift, but this was Muhammad Ali leaning back on that ropes in the championship 15th round as Foreman is coming at him, and then all of a sudden Ali lets one of those little underhand rights just bang, and it was a sea change inside BMO Stadium. You just felt all of the wind come out of La Monumental and everybody else there in the south end. All the sprinklings of LAFC supporters throughout the east and the west sides of the stadium all of a sudden got a little bit more louder. They stuck their chest out just a little bit. And it's when I started to lose my voice. What I said last night definitely could not be mentioned on this podcast and was not family friendly to anybody that was around us. But it was, hi Panda, but it was insane. You got a hash brown. It's
called a victory hash brown. God, I have the greatest wife in the world.
It was unbelievable last night how the entire atmosphere all of a sudden didn't even just become a home match for LAFC. It became a home match with everything on the line. I've said it time and time again, but I will say it more so about this match. The 32-52 over the course of 120, what was it? 9, I think, total minutes, including stoppage times. I think it was actually 131 minutes. The 32-52 was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable, with the exception of that time where we were throwing some stuff at Luis Malagon. Yes, sure, got it. And I don't want to hear, well, they threw stuff at our guy first. No, just stop. We're not in middle school or grade school anymore. We don't need to do something.
You would know. You spend all your time there.
I do.
God bless you, by the way.
Schoolers for a living, and what I tell them is that an eye for an eye makes the world blind, not better. So, look, it's real simple. It was unbelievable last night the way it changed in the building. But again, Philly, it goes back to what you said earlier. Look at what Olivier Giroud is doing in the box at that time. Look at how we are playing with this diamond up top. An incredible job by Steve Cherundolo to make that switch. It was so important for us. God, that goal and then the way the whole place changed, it was unbelievable, Philly. We head into 7 minutes of stoppage time, and I hope he's okay, but I think it might have sealed his fate on this club if it's any type of an injury whatsoever. In the 4th minute of stoppage, Cengiz Under goes down, needs to be helped off the pitch, and Frankie Amaya comes in. And I said it out loud. I was like, oh, man, that kind of kills this diamond, this offensive attack. And boy, was I wrong, because Philly, Frankie Amaya was great.
In limited minutes. And there was the question in the chat about how do we feel about Frankie Amaya thus far? I mean, I would say up to that point, the body of work doesn't support anything other than to be determined. But yes, he was an important part, in particular in that attack within extra time. But maybe this Cengiz Under thing, depending on the severity of the injury, bodes well for us again. I've said it on countless pods at this point. Perhaps John Thorrington is playing a little chess with Fenerbahce because, again, to reiterate, June 30 is when the loan ends. Injured, has a tough time starting cracking the starting lineup, comes in off the bench. Maybe, just maybe, we can negotiate this for, say, 5 million, 4 million, 3 million. I don't know. To me, it might actually work out in our favor. I don't know, because Under, when we've seen him, tough as nails, man. The guy can really have an impact. Absolutely. But I still don't think he's worth the price that Fenerbahce would want for him.
Philly, we got an extra 9.55 to play with, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Look, Frankie Amaya was great in this. We're going to talk about him a little bit more in just a second. At the halftime mark of the 2 15-minute extra periods that were added, Marlon comes on for Aaron Long. And I got to say this. I don't know that Aaron Long was injured as much as he was just cramping and looked completely gassed. But Aaron Long for 105 minutes gave you every damn thing out there on the pitch. By the way, shout out to his mom who I met after the match. And Philly, we've told this story one other time, and I'm not going to go off on a big tangent, but I was chatting with you on the phone in a Tijuana bathroom, and somebody said to me, almost made Philly lose his hash brown. Somebody said to me after I hung up the phone, "Hey, I know your voice. Are you the Scarf?" Right? It's the funniest thing that I've ever heard in my life, and it happened in a Tijuana bathroom, which was unreal.
Incredible.
I was in the field club in the little, section where it's all the seats and all the inside. I was inside at field club. It's not that hard. Say it, JR. I was inside. And I was
still excited about talking about being in a Tijuana bathroom when somebody recognized your name.
Sorry.
For a good time, dial 1-800 the Scarf. I'm sorry, I couldn't. I had to.
I was inside and this
wasn't
woman
a glory holder too. What? Oh,
okay, that's enough.
Family friendly. Sorry.
I was inside and this woman turns around and she goes, "I know your voice. Why do I know your voice?" And I go, "What? I mean, I'm on an LAFC podcast." She goes, "You're the Scarf. That's right. You in Philly. Wow. Turns out that was Aaron Long's mom. So
get out of here, really?
Yeah, Aaron Long's mom. We love you.
Shout out to the Longs. UC Riverside in the house.
Yeah. So look, shout out to you guys. We really appreciate you listening. Your boy gave everything he had for 105 minutes. Marlon comes on, played very well, by the way. There was no drop off. Marlon was great and was itching to get in a little bit earlier. I think, Philly, it's safe to say that Frankie finally goes to Hollywood on this goal here in the 115th minute. A great build-up play before that, but it was the triangle between Frankie Amaya, Olivier Giroud, and Denis Bouanga, a little tiki-taka from LAFC at the time we needed it most. Philly, you probably see it all the time in MASL when they're able to string these little tiki-taka passes together. It's the first time I feel like it's worked for us all season. And a banger by Denis Bouanga in the 115th minute. The second latest goal scored in LAFC history. That first one was by that Gareth Bale guy. Unbelievable the way that they were able to string those passes together. Frankie Amaya doing things on this one. Just a great buildup, and there. I know there's no roof at BMO Stadium, but it was blown onto Figueroa. It was unbelievable, Philly.
You're going to quote Frankie Goes to Hollywood, so I'm going to have to throw in a couple lyrics from Relax. Relax, don't do it when you want to, go to it, but shoot it in the right direction when you're making it your intention. How do you like dem apples? Booyah, Frankie Goes to Hollywood indeed. The ball movement did look good, and for that split second, it did appear as if Giroud scored the goal. You'd have to see it from another angle. But who? Denny, the motherfunking destroyer, with his 80th goal in all competitions for LAFC. The Águilas get their wings clipped, as I said earlier. And insult to injury is that if the ball doesn't deflect off of America's defender, we don't get that goal. So for that, I say thank you. Malagon was monitoring the way Denny was positioning himself and Olivier, and he went the other way, mainly because the ball gets deflected. But boom and booyah, your killer bees right there. The football gods bless us, no question about it. They've been a blessing to us since 2018, but at that moment, good Lord, in nomine Padre, Filii, Spiritus Sancti, oh my God. And for those complaining the entire his career, I'm a Dolo in guy. I've always been. For those saying Steve is void of emotion, we saw some emotion last night, in particular after Denny the Destroyer defeats Club America. Oh my God, the caffeine is still there.
Yeah, what Steve Cherundolo said in the press conference. He ran down there like he was one of the boys because it was such a relief. And he said, and I quote, there was no way in hell that they were scoring again in that match, meaning Club America. He was so confident and so elated. He ran down to the corner, got in front of the 32-52 and egged them on as well. It was unbelievable the way that Steve Cherundolo let all the emotion go. The latest game-winning goal in LAFC history. The previous record was the 95th minute, this one in the 115th. And oh, by the way, picking a hell of a time to win for the first time in 2025 after conceding the first goal. Philly, we did, by the way, have a time-wasting sub in the 120th minute as Yaboa and Ryan Raposo. Ryan Raposo, who's barely cracked an 18 all season since we brought him over for LAFC. Ryan Raposo makes his LAFC debut for the last couple minutes of stoppage time in the added extra time. Just 3 saves needed on the night for Ugo. Philly, what an incredible win for LAFC.
Ryan Raposo's time on the pitch was so limited that not even FOTMob registered him as a substitute. That's how limited it was. But I mean, up until the whistle blew, I was nervous. I'm sure everybody else was in the chat, in the building, watching on TV, whatever the case may be. But when that whistle blew, oh my gosh, the elation. There's only so many feelings that happens that rush a euphoria at once. But yeah, yesterday truly was a special game, a biggest game in club history, and we did it. And for oh God, I almost put her upside down. For the questions about did Hello Kitty watch the match? Hello Kitty always watches the match. The Coug wants to put a hit out on her. Hello Kitty has something to say. I'm bulletproof. That's right. Hello Kitty is bulletproof. But man, it's just winning is fun. There's no question about that. Winning sure as hell is fun. And as far as how we won, we deserve to, considering how we played against Club America. We didn't control the possession, is what I was saying we should do in order to limit them on their attack, because they're the ones that did. But as far as shots on target, fouls committed, we were the better team. We had better shots on target. We had more set pieces. We were more aggressive. They just lucked out for that soft penal against Marky Delgado. And had it not been for that, we skunk Club America. We absolutely skunk Club America. But football gods always have a funny way of working. And going to the FIFA Club World Cup, our first opponent, Chelsea, UEFA Conference League champion Chelsea, by the way.
Yeah, and I want to mention something that Steve Cherundolo said in the press conference real quick. He kind of said it without saying it, but it was basically the feeling that LAFC had been near the mountaintop several times under his watch, and finally able to get ourselves over that peak and see what it's like at the very top of the mountain to win a final that means something internationally. We all know MLS Cup is wonderful because it means you're the best team at the end of the season in your league. But every single club would take an appearance in the Club World Cup or winning the Champions Cup to get there, whatever it is. And what Steve Cherundolo said was, we were so happy that we had to win in order to get there because it stamps our place in the Club World Cup. We didn't back in because of some court decision or because of some ranking system or anything else. This was where you had to win in order to get in. People are mentioning in the chat right now, Sergi Palencia and Ryan Hollingshead, I thought both played so well on the outside. We asked everything of them. Igor Jesus and Timothy Tillman in the middle. Tillman played almost every minute. It was an unbelievable effort. But I got to say it one more time. And you've talked about him as I think your favorite player now in club history.
Oh, it has been since that goal against Portland.
Over 120 minutes. The energy, enthusiasm, and unbridled competitive spirit that oozes out of every single pore of Denis Bouanga's body is something that I think too many LAFC supporters and fans take for granted.
Yes.
He is unlike any other player in Major League Soccer right now. Yeah, I know the numbers might not be popping off the charts the way that some other seasons have been for him, but if not for Denis Bouanga, we are dead in the water in this game.
Denny the Destroyer, and you're 100% right. That gets discounted immediately. People will say he's too selfish. He doesn't pass the ball. Who the hell scores? Who the hell scores for LAFC? And who the hell has scored with the departure of Chicho Arango? Not many people. Denny the Destroyer. And there he is. There he is. Denny, are you the man? Denny, did you score the goal against Club America? Yes, he did. And while I love mentioning how I pick the low-hanging fruit, allow me to just display this real quick. Very simple. I'm not going to get into too much as far as LAFC is concerned. We know it's going to be Denis Bouanga. Denny the Destroyer doesn't necessarily just need to have a good game. He needs to have the best game, period. Because if we're going to look to be aggressive and score goals against a team that doesn't allow very many to begin with, Denis Bouanga is going to have to be on his A game. He is our primetime player, our PTPer, baby, to steal a line from the great Dick Vitale, which, by the way, I'm happy that he's cancer-free. Denis Bouanga is going to be our game changer. It has to be it. This is the man we're going to need to rely on. Not anybody else. Denis Bouanga. And by the way, the last thing I'm going to say, ChatGPT is an amazing thing. Ruben asked, when was the last time Hugo Lloris saved the penalty kick? June 28th, 2021, during the Euro 2020 round of 16 between France and Switzerland, he stuffed Ricardo Rodriguez in the 55th minute. God, technology is cool. Whether or not that's accurate, I didn't have time to fact check it, but I mean, that came up.
Technology is cool. I just don't know if it's right. There you go.
Well, if it's on the internet, it's right. If it's on ChatGPT, sure.
There you go. Of course. That's what I tell my middle school students when they're researching projects. Oh my goodness. You guys, what a match. I have no voice. I have no energy. I am completely spent. This is Henry Masters says false. Here we go. Look, love you guys in the chat.
Well, tell me then. I'm curious because now I want to know.
Oh, did he save one last year versus St. Louis? Maybe.
Oh, all right. Well, ChatGPT failed me again. And people were like, Philly, go to ChatGPT. No, because Philly GPT.
Oh, God.
Yes. Philly GPT right here.
I thought it was going to be like some sort of Philly 316 reference for a minute there.
No, that shirt hasn't come out, by the way. What's the story on that designer?
Soon. Oh, yeah, he saved Joel Klaus's PK. That's right.
ChatGPT.
All right. We love you guys here in the chat. This has been episode 363 of Defenders of the Bank. Our next episode is going to be about Sporting Kansas City, which just seems to be a little bit of a letdown after this type of an episode. But then we get to do episodes soon on Chelsea, on Flamengo, and on Esperance from Tunis. This is going to be from Tunisia, excuse me. This is going to be unbelievable. It's silly season again, everybody at LAFC, because we get to pinch ourselves because we are playing in the Club World Cup. Unbelievable. To everybody in the chat, thank you so much. Ruben, thank you as always for liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications. To Defenders of the Bank, head on over to defendersofthebank.com. Click on the shop logo where you can get this Saved by the Bell inspired shirt as well as a bunch of other stuff. We absolutely love you guys. And Philly, I'd be remiss if I went the entire podcast and didn't say it. Congrats on your correct score prediction of 2-1 in this one.
I'm sorry, what?
I know you have.
Look, I will agree with you in the sense that it's going to be a game in which we're going to win by 1, but not 3-2. Look, I will agree with Sorry, I had to. I had it queued up.
I knew it was coming. That's why I set it up on a tee for him, everybody. That's how we do this. We love you guys so much. And you know how we like to end each and every one of these episodes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.